top plate. So generally you're going to find we've got two types of wall. Two types of roof going on top of our wall. So the common one these days are trusses. Yep, everybody know what a truss roof is? You would have done that with, hopefully, and trusses are made up of a bottom chord, a top chord, and a whole lot of webs in between. Yep, make sense? So where those trusses typically come down and meet a wall, so if this is the outside of the building, that's the inside. What happens is, if I draw a line down like that, and go like that, that is the top chord of the truss. If I draw a line like that, and a line like that, that is the bottom chord of the truss. So effectively, they meet for a nice big dot for you at that point. At that point, okay? That is the point that we use as our pitch point for that type of roof, on the outside of the wall. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay? So when we look at it in plan and we're working on an ArchiCAD, and it says to you that we've got to draw a roof and it talks about the pitch line, in plan, if that's the outside wall here, and this is the outside of the building, then our pitch line that we're going to draw, you get that funny little thing that looks like that, is done on the outside of the wall. On the outside of the wall. So when we have, I'll just shorten it up a bit and put our, anybody tell me another type of typical roof structure we use apart from trusses? Rafters. Okay, so the other common one we use is using rafters. And often we use rafters if we want sloping ceilings, because it allows you to do that. So with trusses, your ceiling's always going to be flat, or not always, but mostly going to be flat unless you have exposed rafters in here. So with trusses, you can do different types of things. You can have a truss come down, and as you know, with Amos, is it might be that it's, what's that called where they do that? Bird's mouth. A bird's mouth where they cut a little bit out and it sits over the top. If they get quite large, these rafters, they might actually do that and cut out, so if that's a bit bigger like that, they might just cut it out and have it sitting right across that whole plate. Does that make sense? You see what I'm saying? So if we do that, then our pitch point is here, on the inside of our wall. Okay, so you can see that it's not always the same. That's what I'm trying to point out. It's not always the same. Now the Batch project has rafters. And so to keep it nice and simple, they said to you, pitch it off the inside of the wall. And a lot of you wouldn't have no idea why. So I'm just trying to point out, there is a reason why we pitched those rafters from there. But when we're doing, most houses these days typically have trusses, is we would pitch it on the outside of the wall. So just be aware to understand that's what you're doing. So Mouse.
Yeah, no, I'm ready. I'm
Oh,
ready.
you
Are
actually,
ready?
he might demo and I might talk even.
Ah,
How's
geez, that's
that?
a new one.
How's
That's a
that?
bit, we've never done this before. Are you
Well,
sure?
who? Yeah. Laurel and Hardy?
Oh, yeah. What's Penn and Teller?
Penn and Teller. Do you know Penn and
Okay,
Teller?
pressure's on.
Our
Thanks.
American magicians.
I think I've got the short end.
And we, and Penn and Teller are probably even more different from us,
Right.
aren't they?
The thing is, I'm gonna follow your instructions, so if you
Oh, okay.
give me some duff ones, that's it.
Because in Penn and Teller, one of the guys is really, really short and the other guy is really, really tall, like really tall and
So
short.
guess which one's which then?
But also, I think on those, only one of them ever talks, isn't it? The other guy never, nothing.
Well, I think there's a few tellers in here.
Yes, yeah, a few tells. Nothing. The other guy, blah, 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 and the other guy just does the magic.
Okay,
as
will
well.
you tell me what to do?
Right,
I'll
okay.
shut up and you talk.
Okay, he's going to shut up my talk.
Yes.
So here's our little outline of our house. We've got some walls. And so one of the things that we also picked up on to know is that we have stories. Not stories to tell, but stories as in a building sense. So this has all been drawn on the ground floor story, because that's where it lives, on the ground floor. But our roof, we're going to draw on the roof story. Okay? So that's the story above. Did you say it's on the back of one of these?
Yeah, it's on the back of that one over there. See if we can, okay, yeah.
No, I'll put it around it.
I'm pretty sure I saw it.
Oh my goodness, I drew this for the class last year.
People loved it so much, they're all afraid they went away.
Yeah, he told me it was still here. I said, no, exactly. So I drew this last year. Now, I drew it quickly and it's pretty rough, but it gives you the idea that what we haven't talked about yet is that when we use ArchiCAD, we draw things in different places depending where they are on the building. Okay, so we have a ground floor, and this is a story. The ground floor story, where we draw all the stuff to do with the ground floor on this story called the ground floor story. And this happens to be a two-story house, but your batch doesn't have this, does it? It just has ground floor and roof. So we don't at the moment have a first floor story, we have ground floor and roof. So all our roof stuff gets drawn on a different story. And we'll show you, I think on Wednesday we're going to talk about stories and
Yeah.
oh no, a little bit, yeah, not too much yet.
Guys, if you want to get story settings, it's just that little thing, that's what Richard's chatting about,
Yeah.
and get something from, so we're going to draw on this.
Yeah, so all I'm saying is when we draw the roof, we don't draw it with the walls downstairs, we draw it on a different story. And it automatically, by going to that story, it knows that we're up here instead of down here. Yep, makes sense? Yep. So when on this one here, we're going to do the roof, Mal goes up to the roof story and goes, oh, where's our house gone? And this is why we have a lovely little button up here. But to use that, we can go to our ground floor. You do the ground floor, and one of the options is show as a trace reference. So it's not there, but if you click on it, having picked the ground floor, and you click on that, and up comes a trace of your ground floor. So it's not there, there's nothing there because we're on the roof story. We're just looking down below and we can see our ground floor. Because to draw that roof, we have to know where the walls are. Otherwise we can't draw the roof. Does that make sense? So the trace reference is a fantastic little bit of a tool. And to get rid of it, all he has to do is, he's down back down on the ground floor again. So when he goes up to his roof and does a trace reference, or he turns it back on, when it's on, he's done that, and then if he wants to just turn it off, he goes, and it disappears. So he can turn it on and off. Yep. Okay, so he's got the trace reference. We need a trace reference because we can't place our roof until we do. So we've been told that these are rafters, so that he's going to set it up. This is the low side of the building, and the roof is rising up in this direction. Is everybody happy with that? I've seen the pictures of it so that we can do that. So this is going to be the lowest part of our wall that the roof is going to sit on, and we're going to make sure we can pitch the roof from the inside of this wall. So he's going to zoom up a little bit so we can see here's the wall here. So when he goes to his roof tool, opens up the settings, and there's a few settings we have to have a look at. It tells you that he's on the roof story. At the moment, it's telling you that it is 0 height that roof is going to be put at, because that's what he set up his roof story to be, a certain distance above his ground floor. We'll tell you how to do all that, but at the moment it's just the default. There is a figure here on 2450 that tells you that's how far that roof is going to be starting to be put on above your ground floor. Okay, so we have a figure relative to ground floor for our roof, and we're going to start it at 0 by default. Everybody happy with that? Okay, by default it comes up as a timber roof is for construction, that's all good. there's a whole lot of things here that you can fiddle with, but a couple of the main points are, as Mel points out, we're going to use what I call the dumb way of doing it, which just means that we tell it a whole lot of information. It also has the ability to do quite complex roofs itself, so it's really smart. But there's times where we just want, this is a simple one monopitch, so we don't have to get it to make it up. We're going to make it up ourselves. The other important things are how thick is it? So when we're doing typical trusses, that would be the thickness of our roof that matched the top chord. Yeah? How thick is that? 90 is the standard top chord of a truss. 90 thick. Okay? So that is probably almost the default setting in Archicad, but if we're using rafters, generally rafters have to span all the way up to the middle of the room. So they're generally going to be bigger pieces of timber. So we can control that. We can say, oh, they're 140. Is this one 140 in the batch one? Or just 90? I can't remember. It's not a biggie. Stick with your 90's fine now if you want. Oh.
Gives it this one. Single plane with John.
Oh, yeah, 140. Way.
There we go.
Sharp 140. And the other big one is the angle of the roof. Okay, so this is a roof pitch. How steep or how flat or whatever. Yeah, makes sense? So there's some basic things we obviously have to put in here because we have to tell it things. Because Archicad's always going, what do you want? What do you want? Some of it is smart and other bits are dumb. And it's dumb on purpose because you're the ones telling it what it needs to be. So that's fine. It's not dumb because it's dumb. It's just dumb because it wants to know answers. And you've got lots and lots of options. Yeah? So we've set all this up and we said, okay, that's all good. We've got on, we will talk about layers on Wednesday, design roofs. We go, okay. And then we have to draw it. So Mel's going to click on the inside of this wall line. We got anything else? Oh, okay, so it's even helping you. Enter first node of the roof pivot line. I mean, I've been using it for long enough, I don't even know that's there because I know how to use it. But for me, typically, that is the point I would click on the inside corner of that inside wall, and you can just draw a line along it. So that line is the direction of what the roof's going to do this around. Okay, so we know it runs along, on this one, it runs along the inside of that wall, parallel with that wall. Does that make sense? And that's why Mel's drawing along here. This doesn't print. It is just a guideline. It could be that short, or it could be this long. You don't need it long. It's just to tell the machine where is this roof pitching from. So he's just going to click again for the other end of the node, which it probably tells
Yeah,
you.
a little tip, guys. Just I find it helpful to hold the shift button down.
Yep.
Because that kind of constrains it to the horizontal. And just in case you've had some too much coffee or vodka the night before, it might drift off the axis.
Yep.
So keep the shift button down, and then you can just, as Richard says, just click.
Click again, and then you get this eyeball, because it's asking you again, which way do you want the roof to pitch? Do you want it to go that, or you know, which way do you want to pitch? Now the side of this line is the side it goes up on. Okay, so the eyeball is always asking for the side it goes up on. So if you wanted it to go down from this line, you would click on this side because you know it'd be rising this way, but we don't want a roof out here. We want the roof out here anyway. So he's going to click on that side of the line and it will know that's the direction the roof is going to tilt up to. Yep. So he's clicked that and the brain, Archicad knows that is, you know, you can't see anything, it just now knows. So the next stage is it's saying, draw me the roof. Where do you want the roof? We know the pitch line, we know it rises, draw me the roof. So my instruction to Mel is draw me the roof.
I can do it two ways.
Okay.
Okay, do
Yeah.
you want me to do the Harry Potter way, or do you want me to do it join the dots? Because I think if you press the space bar, it will pick it up, won't it?
Try it.
So what I'm going to do, guys, is go in here. You might say there's nothing there, but if I go edit, select all roofs, it actually has drawn a roof. So the quick thing there is it's actually picked up all the boundaries by just that Harry Potter, a bit like the slab. Remember the slab one that said just use the space bar click, and it was clever enough to pick up all the nodes. And we'll do a 3D, and hopefully that'll show you that the roof is actually there.
So it is there.
I can do it the other way as well.
Good. But if you just go back to the plan now, so the other thing, always, if you hold your shift key down and move it over this area, holding your shift key down, and you might have to go to an edge or something,
Yeah.
just holding your shift key
So
down.
what do you want me to do?
Just to find it,
Oh,
just
yeah,
to,
yeah, yeah.
so you go, oh, have I actually drawn anything? Hold the shift key down, move your cursor, suddenly you get it dotted and you go click and it's highlighted and you've got the roof. Okay, so if you, anything like that, you think, oh, is it actually, have I actually drawn anything? Just see if you can find it, what you've drawn, hold the shift key down, highlight it, and go, oh yeah, I've got a roof there. So our classic one with students is, they go, oh, I've got problems with something or other, and you highlight it, and you go, well, just delete that and see if it's an issue, and then you find, oh, there's another one underneath. Oh, highlight that, delete it, go over the top again, oh, there's another one there. And students do this with walls all the time and things like that, and you find that they thought they weren't making it work, so they tried it again and again and again and again and again, and 15 walls later in the same place, they got 15 walls in the same place because they didn't think it would work the first
Well, see
time.
if you've done that, see that way I'm in the roof tool. If you go Control A or Edit, select all roofs, and we've only got one, but we've seen 12, 13, record 15 I think, so as Richard's
Yeah.
saying, people just think it's not there, and keep doing it.
Yeah. So just be aware too, so if we just deselect that for a moment, and if you go back to your ground floor plan, and you go, where's my brown walls? Where's all the walls gone? Look, it's just an outline. I had walls there. Where's my walls? And it's just because you still have your trace reference on. So if Mel undoes, clicks on that, there's your walls. So it's not something you've done wrong. It's just often the first thing just to check is that button highlighted. You've been using your trace reference, or it just makes it transparent when that is left on. So it's something you just have to get used to, that if you are using your trace reference, you might have to turn it off if you're going back to something else. So Mal's going to go back up to his roof. He's going to delete that roof that he's just done, and he's going to quickly run through a similar method of how to do it.
Okay, so what we'll do is enter first node of roof pivot line, just the same thing.
Draw a line, pitch line.
Another way to do it. You know about just going.
Yeah, do the top. So over here he's got three options. Either he can click around all the corners, or he can draw it as one big rectangle, or if it happens to be on an angle, you can actually do a rectangle but on an angle if the house isn't square to the page. So if that doesn't work with your magic wand, your Harry Potter, because sometimes it doesn't quite pick it all the edges up for some reason, then you can always do that. You can always just go around all the nodes, and when he gets back to square one, he's drawn the same roof. Yeah? And just remember, all the roof is just like the slab tool, but it's a slab you can tell it what angle to put it on. Yeah? So it's still just a slab, that's all it is. But you can't use your slab tool on an angle, you can only use it as a flat plane thing. Okay? So again, if he highlights, is it still there?
Yeah, I think so. Let's see.
So he highlights that, and of course you can treat it just like a slab. So if he clicks on any of these edges, not a corner,
Oh,
an
sorry,
edge,
sorry. Oh, okay.
because you'll get a different palette. If he clicks on any edge and clicks on it, he gets this pallet here, and of course one of these is an offset all edges, and if he goes to that offset all edges, and it says how far do you want your overhangs to stick out on every side. Now you could do it individually, it takes time. You can do the whole lot if they all have the same overhang, of course. So for me, typically they aren't. I have barges that are shorter than my eaves and things like that. But if you want them all the same, you can just use that tool and say 600 or 400 or whatever it is, 450, bang, you have extended all out. So it's just like you can do that to a slab. So that's why we've been doing those exercises, for you to get used to using all the PEX pallet frames.
So when I clicked on the offset edge and put in 450 or whatever
Yes.
it was,
Yeah.
it went in rather than
That's
out.
because what you have to do is start moving it outwards, so it knows you're going in that direction.
Just gesture the
Yeah, it's
general
just a
direction.
gesture, yeah. So that's all it was, is you obviously had your mouse on the inside,
Yeah.
so I thought, oh, that's the way you want to go.
Okay, that
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah, so that's all it was. Yeah, so it's often driven by that, by starting something that says, how big, how big, how big? But going the right direction is helpful as a starting point, yep. So Mel's now showing you this lovely little pitched roof. You can see it's just a slab. Now the reason for this is Archicad has these tools that we can put roof coverings on, and the roof coverings attach themselves to that roof slab. So in the real world with this truss, you have purlins, you have roofing, and they attach themselves to that roof. So you have to have the roof, the right thickness, and pitching off the right point for that roof covering to end up at the right height. Okay, so you have to get that roof right. Even though in the end we'll turn that off and you'll have trusses, that roof sets up all your roofing. Okay, so it's critical that we get the roof pitching at the right height, the right thickness, the right angle, so that when we then put on a roof, because the roof has everything, it has purlins, roofing, gutters, fascia boards, barge boards, ridge flashings, all these different things as part of that roof covering scheme, which we haven't got. Have we got to yet? Do we use it in this?
Just quickly show it, and I think I might, I'm not sure, but there's a quick thing.
Yeah, so you can put these all on as well, but they stick to the roof, so you have to have your roof absolutely perfect.
On that point, Richard, it was a good one you brought up. A couple of years ago, we had some people whose roof, the gutters were flying out into infinity, and we really couldn't figure out what was going on, but I think Richard worked out that because they hadn't drawn the building completely square, and the roof was then also not true, and Archicad had a real struggle trying to put the roof covering on it. So the lesson was make sure your building is the right dimensions and everything is straight and true, and the roof will hopefully then behave, you know. So that's a kind of a watch point.
So is that quite useful for when you get to the roof part? But you kind of have to know that, don't you? To do with where these roofs are pitching from. Yeah, that's all I wanted, just to. So
there's also a video as well, which might be slightly different, but hopefully it'll help you. And you've got Hollywood people here, Richard, as well. Should have put you in makeup before putting you on
I
these
didn't
people.
have the makeup.
But well, you know. But anyway,
You can edit me out.
troubleshoot. And if anybody's really worried, just make yourself go to us, please.
Cool, thank you. Oh, yes.
Just a quick question. Last week you were talking about windows and you said those bubbles appear. Oh, you know, the
Circles.
circles. How do you get rid of them?